So today I'm going to look at a game from Milton Bradley from 1979 called the Star Trek game. It came out around the time of the first Star Trek movie. And you can see from the specific characters here, it's from we call it now Star Trek 1. So, the cover artwork is fine. It's actually a big box. It's about 14 by 19 inches. So there's the back. A little bit of theme. Join the crew of the Enterprise on the travels through space. Set out from your home star base, crossing from one star path to another on your intergalactic voyage. Take part in their exciting mission, seeking out unexplored stars. As you hunt for secret Klingon outposts, investigate black holes, be on the alert for attacks from hostile aliens. Complete 3 missions and head for your home starbase. The first starship commander to reach home wins this challenging space adventure game. And the game is for 8 to adult players, 2 to 4. As far as the interior of the box, it's got a simple tray to put your components, which is fine. Nothing complicated, as is often the case in, I'd say, family-style games, but I think you know what I mean, like simpler but enjoyable games. You don't get like an 8 to 16 page rule book. Often the rules are just printed on the cover or on like one page. In this case, they're on the cover. First component is the game board, and it's a very large game board. It's approximately 26 inches square. So the first Star Trek movie, I believe, was called officially Star Trek the Motion Picture. We didn't call it one until we found there were going to be other ones. The first one, a lot of people thought, it wasn't super well received because it was very serious. It didn't have fun like the original series did. I found that even though the cover references the motion picture by the characters, the game itself plays like you're in the original series. For instance, the art, you're chasing Klingons. It's an art consistent with a family kind of game. It's kind of light and fun, not too serious. It looks nice. It's a good board. So what's interesting about this game is that in the center of the board, you can kind of view that as a viewing port of the ship. You have these. You basically have like a layout of a section of a galaxy, or the Milky Way, I guess. And it comes in 6 segments, and you can put these 6 segments in any order. Actually, when you have 6 components, you can put in different order. Turns out there's 720 combinations. So if you just look at that alone, we're already talking some good replayability. And to keep them in place, there's these little sections that kind of go on the edges and each vertice, I guess, of the hexagon to hold them in place, and they work really well. I personally, I'd prefer if these looked more like a star field instead of just moving around thing for a kind of a light game. There's 4, they're Federation starships. They're very nice, and it really adds to the play of the game. Dice. These markers, which are basically tokens. Then the last components are 2 sets of cards. There's mission cards, and there's star cards. In the game, each player gets 4 mission cards, and they have to successfully achieve 3 of those missions. And star cards indicate what do you find on stars. First of all, there's a lot of nice variety, and I do like the quality. The mission cards, again, referencing to the first Star Trek movie, Stop V'ger. These are just some examples. There's a lot of variety here in the deck. Klingon agents incite rebellion in your space sector. Control these 5 stars in your space sector. Bring peace to the United Federation planets. AlphaTauri wants to start a new colony. Find one Earth-like planet. Beam down your survey team to survey the surface. They basically tell you what types of stars or items in star locations that you need to visit and own. As far as the star cards, so when you get on a star, you might find advanced civilization, which can either help or hurt you. If it helps you, it'll add to your motion distance you can go, or it might just send you away. Different types of stars, for instance, a white dwarf, you might get a black hole, nova, or an Earth-like planet. And these play into which ones you have to go to and own for your mission cards. Object, travel across the galaxy seeking out alien phenomena. You must control stars to complete your missions, be the first captain to complete 3 missions, and again, return home and you win. So there's 32 star cards, 24 mission cards. And then to play, so you roll, so you goes first, and then you go clockwise. A big part of the game is movement. So there's 2 ways you can move. You can move at warp speed, which means you roll a dice, and you have to... So there's 2 scenarios. One is you can move within that amount, and that's for unexplored stars, and the other is you have to move that exact amount, and that's when a star has already been explored. So there's warp speed, which is rolling the dice, and the other is impulse speed, where you move 1 space per turn. And my interpretation is before you move, you have to say which one you're going to do. So you start out at a star base. A star base is hooked up to different colored paths. So for instance here, a star base would be here, and it would be hooked up to a yellow path and a green path. You can only move around along the colored path you're hooked up to. To change to another path, you have to go through a star base, and I'll show that in play. So for instance, to transfer from yellow to green, you would go through a star base, and then you could go on the green path. For instance here, if you were to go warp speed, you go 9, and you're fortunate because 9 would land you right on a star system, since you're within that 9 roll, and then you can explore a system. Or you could just go impulse and move 1. Say if it was owned by the yellow player, and you rolled a 9, you could get on that planet. Since you rolled the exact number, you would then control the planet. The way you indicate control is by placing, in this sector, D, you would indicate control by placing your blue marker on D. If it's unexplored though, you go there and you draw a star card. You put the definition of that star system on D in that sector. Find a justification of why it matters the exact roll or not. My rationale is if you're exploring, you have more flexibility in timing as far as when you get there. You don't have to be either rushed or prepare. You can get there because that's your plan. But if it's owned by somebody else, I could see where you'd either want to push your engines to get there as quickly as you can. In that case, there's a chance of being various problems, Scotty didn't give you enough energy, whatever. So if it's too a very high distance and you can't make it there, I could see where that'd be a likelihood of you not owning the planet. But if it's too close, I could see where you say, well, it's too close, I rolled a high number, that means I didn't have adequate time to prepare. So of course with 2 6-sided dice, to most likely roll a 7, and it drops off fairly linearly from there, with the least likely being the 2 and 12. So that was kind of my strange rationale for that. And really, if you were to try to, in a regular kind of war game, whatever, if you were trying to get somewhere and capture a planet, you would basically move and then you'd roll like a combat dice. And this is kind of combining both those in one, because the movement and the combat is in one roll. So that's another kind of way of looking at it. To complete a mission, all the cards refer to going to different types of systems and controlling them basically. So here, but it adds all the flavor of the game. It talks about Klingons, the Vulcan system. So that's where you get your fun, is because if you just look at the dice rolling and putting on spots, they're controlled or not, it's not fun. But all these cards tie into the Star Trek theme, and it's the original series theme, and that's where the fun comes in. But it's about exploring this portion of the galaxy, figuring out what the different star systems are, and then going to the ones that your mission card says. There isn't combat in this because it's between different Federation starships, although I could see where I could easily make house rules for combat. But one way it can do that here is, if you have 3 missions to win, you have to head back to your home star base. But in this case, when a player has 3 of their missions completed, if another player lands on you when you have 3 completed, they can send you anywhere on the board. So this is a way of basically them messing with you so that you're not going to get the promotion. They can either choose to try to complete their stuff, or go after you, keep you from succeeding. So that's a little twist on it that makes it a little bit more interesting too. So here we are setting up the game. You put these placement positioning devices on the vertices here, and they just go through the board. So then you take your 6 triangles and you just put them wherever. I mean, I would just do them randomly, but they fit pretty nicely into those corner holders. There you go. And then you put starships on the different colored bases. So blue would go on blue star base. You put your mission cards here. Put your star cards over here. Then each player gets 4 mission cards. This is for blue. Visit 2 advanced civilizations. Clearing activity in the Vulcan space sector. Space flu strikes civilized outer planets. Basically, you have to go to 2 other star bases other than your own and beam down Dr. McCoy. But of course, that's just for flavor there. Control 7 star systems. So that's the 4 that blue has, and they'll keep them secret from the other players. You only turn them up when you've completed them. Yellow would be Alpha Tauri. Want to start a new colony, you have to find an Earth-like planet. Klingon agents incite rebellion. You have to control all 5 stars in your sector. So for instance, the sector would be for the blue star base. That would be all 5 of these. You have to control all 5 of those. Stop V'ger, which would be, my understanding, is controlling the system where V'ger is. Because the V'ger will show up on the system here. And it may not, depending on your luck of the draw of the star card, so that may not, that makes it how likely or not it is to complete that. Federation supply ships disappeared in a black hole, so then you have to go to a black hole. That's what yellow is doing. Again, these are for the star cards, not for the mission cards, so you just put those here. Red, control 1 star in all 6 space sectors at the same time, so these are different space sectors you have to control in there. You have to explore a white dwarf star. Engineering Officer Scott requests supply of dilithium crystals for additional supplies. So if you turn up a system that has dilithium crystals, you need to go there and control it. Top secret, pick up a Vulcan ambassador at Vulcan, which is over here, and bring him to Earth. So you would pick him up here and then bring him to Earth, and then you'd complete that mission. So it's red. And then green, Quasar. Let Mr. Spock monitor a quasar, so if a quasar shows up, you need to go control the quasar. Explore a neutron, again, that's discovering a neutron star system, so that'd be going around the board. And I think I mentioned before, just want to clarify. So when a system hasn't been discovered, you can, say for 8, you can go anywhere within 8 or below to get it, but if it's already been explored, then you need the exact number to get on there through warp or impulse. Transfer alien ambassador to another player's ship. As it says, you have to land on the ship by exact count. Control 3 B stars at the same time. So that B's would be these. So you have to control 3 of those. So those are mission cards. That's how the setup goes. And now we'll play through it a bit and see what we think about it. So we're a couple turns in here. For blue player, they have accomplished the mission of visiting 2 civilizations because they own this one, and they actually visited this one as well. Red has also visited there, but since blue visited there as well, we'll mark that. So that's one mission complete. But to figure out their next steps, they need to control 7 stars at a time, go to 2 star bases to deliver serum, or patrol the Vulcan space sector for 3, stopping at 3 star spaces. So to figure out what they're going to do, they had just recently gotten the advanced technology, and they're close to the Vulcan sector, so they'll be going over there now to patrol that for Klingons. So 4, they're in the yellow. That's blue. For yellow then, we'll do yellow's turn. Where they're at, they've completed 1 mission, which is Alpha Tauri wants to start a new colony. Find one Earth-like planet, and they have. So they've completed that. The remaining ones are stop V'ger, and that's an option because V'ger is on the board now. They might do that. Klingon agents cite rebellion. Need to control all 5 stars in their sector. They only have 1, so they're unlikely to try that one. Federation supply ships disappeared near a black hole. Investigate. So there's a black hole on the board, and actually what they're doing now, they're heading towards that black hole to try to complete that mission. So they're going to do warp. If they were to do impulse, they would just go 1, but they're going to do warp. Another thing about dice rolling, if they roll a double number, if anybody rolls a double number, then they're able to either move their ship or any other ship anywhere on the board. They get a 6. So the black hole is in B, which is here. So what their plan is to go in here, go through the starbase, and then shift onto the red track and go up to B. That's their plan. Then it's Red's turn. They haven't completed any missions. The ones they have are top secret pick up Vulcan ambassador on Vulcan and bring them to Earth. That's the one they're proceeding on right now because they can get there on yellow and then work their way over to Earth. Explore a white dwarf star. There's no white dwarf stars on the board yet, but if they get the right roll, they could conceivably, for instance, if they were to land on D, they could take a chance to see if they have a white dwarf. Or control 1 star in each 6 space sectors. Right now they just have 2, so that would take a while. Engineering Officer Scott requests a supply of dilithium crystals for additional power supply. Right now there's no dilithium crystals, so they won't do that. So let's see what roll they get. They get double 6s, so they can move anyone else or themselves anywhere on the board. What they're going to do is go to C and see if they can discover, for instance, a white dwarf. So let's see what they get. That's good too. Advanced civilization, they get a new technology, so they can add 1 to their move. So that goes on C here, and they don't own that, but they'll mark that they've been here so that they can do that. And now each turn from now to the end of the game, they have the option of moving 1 additional spot, and anybody else that lands on that planet can also get that technology to move another spot. Even though they didn't complete a mission, that was helpful. And then lastly, green. 5. What they're trying to do, they haven't completed any missions either. The options they have are transfer an alien ambassador to another player's ship. You must land that on ship by exact count. Or also, when you go to a starbaser planet, you don't need an exact count to land on the starbaser planet, so if they happen to be there, they could also do it that way. Side expedition, explore neutron star. There is one on the board, so that's an option, or there's actually a couple on the board, or maybe they might find a new one. Mission, control 3 binary stars at the same time. There's 1 binary star, and they're not controlling it right now. Quasar now stream across the galaxy, let Mr. Spock monitor when at close range. So if there's a quasar, there is actually on the board. So if he were to go to that, or if they were to go to that, that would be another option. So let's see where they're at. So they're here. To get to the quasar, they'd have to follow the yellow path to A. So that'd probably take a couple turns. 3 binary stars. There's only 1, so they won't focus on that one. Explore neutron star. So let's see where there's a neutron star at B here. So they could also go that path to B. There's also one here at D. So that's also on the yellow path. Sounds like following on the yellow path to see where it goes. 7. All of them would be in this direction of the yellow path. So that's the completion of that turn. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the play. Star Trek game from Milton Bradley, 1979. It's a little bit simpler than other games I've done, but I did find it enjoyable. I think it's a fair to good game. It's not great, but it's fair to good. It gives you good variability as far as setting up the board here. The mechanics are simple. I mean, the moving isn't like something super exciting, but the best thing about it is the theme. you do, when you move all parts and you make your choices about your missions, you do get you get embedded in the original series Star Trek. You have some choices to make as far as the optimum way to set up things, where you want to be, choices as far as what missions you want to do. You get to explore, the galaxy and see what different options there are. And I do also really like the components as far as the miniatures are really nice. So I'll give it a solid 6.